Tomoki Yuki's gaze always makes others feel uncomfortable. There is something sharp and cold in it, as if it holds a rage that never fades. Because of that, almost all the students at his school stay away from him. They whisper behind his back, watching from afar, as if Tomoki is a threat that should be avoided. Only one person stays by his side. Ike Haruma, the popular, handsome, and well-liked student council president. Among the sea of faces that refuse to come near, only Haruma dares to greet Tomoki with a sincere smile. During recess, they pass each other in the crowded hallway. Haruma asks Tomoki for help with a student council task after school. He even promises to treat him to a meal as a thank you. That simple invitation warms Tomoki's heart. It has been a long time since anyone has invited him to do something in such a friendly way. After class, the two walk side by side to the administration room. Their hands are both full of files. The afternoon sunlight streaming through the windows reflects off Haruma's hair, making him stand out even more among the crowd. They talk casually, and in the middle of their conversation, Haruma admits that he defends Tomoki in front of their classmates. He wants everyone to know that Tomoki isn't a bad person like they think. Those words make Tomoki pause. He feels a mix of emotion and discomfort. He doesn't want anyone to defend him, especially someone as popular as Haruma. But deep inside, something stirs a warmth he has almost forgotten. On their way, they meet Hasaki Natsuna, Haruma's childhood friend who is known for her passion for tennis. She greets Haruma cheerfully, then notices Tomoki standing behind him. Tomoki lowers his gaze, ready to face the usual fearful looks. But the opposite happens. Natsuna smiles at him and gives him words of encouragement. For Tomoki, that moment feels like a small miracle. After finishing their task in the administration room, Haruma hands Tomoki a canned drink before they part ways. He says that next time they should eat together. Tomoki nods slowly. Although his expression stays flat, his chest feels strangely full. As he is about to leave, Tomoki almost bumps into a girl. The girl has gentle eyes. She comes to see Haruma. Strangely, Haruma doesn't seem to want her to talk too much at school. Curiosity makes Tomoki observe quietly. The girl looks calm, not nervous at all in front of Haruma, which is rare. Soon after, Haruma introduces Tomoki to the girl. Her name is Ike Tuka, Haruma's younger sister. Tuka greets him politely and says that she often hears good things about Tomoki from her brother, especially about how reliable he is as a friend. After Haruma leaves, only Tuka and Tomoki remain. They talk briefly, and Tuka says without hesitation that Tomoki looks scary. Tomoki admits it, and Tuka laughs softly. She says that Tomoki's way of talking is funny and somehow makes the atmosphere lighter. From that moment on, the two begin exchanging messages online. A few days later, Tuka sends an invitation to meet on the school rooftop during break time. The place is quiet and cool, with the wind carrying the scent of spring. When Tomoki arrives, he finds Tuka already waiting. The girl looks bright, as if his presence truly means something to her. Tomoki, with a straight face and calm tone, asks why Tuka wants to talk to him, someone so uninteresting. But Tuka looks at him gently. She says that Tomoki is actually fun and different. She wants to tell him something she can't hold back any longer. The atmosphere suddenly turns quiet. Only the sound of the wind rustling through the fence fills the air. Tuka looks down, her hands trembling slightly. In a soft, faltering voice, she finally reveals her feelings. She asks Tomoki to be her boyfriend. For Tomoki, time seems to stop for a moment. Amid all the loneliness he experiences, those words feel like a ray of light piercing through the darkness of the world he knows. Tomoki wonders why Tuka wants to be his girlfriend. Tuka explains that when she first tries to talk to him yesterday, Tomoki seems scary, cold, and unapproachable. But the more she pays attention to him, the more she realizes Tomoki's funny and sincere side. In addition, her brother, Haruma, often talks about Tomoki's kindness, convincing Tuka that he is a reliable person. Tomoki stays silent for a long time, deep in thought. He thinks it is impossible for Tuka to like him because of his appearance. A short conversation is not enough to change the image that has formed over time. There is still suspicion in his heart. There must be another reason behind Tuka's confession. He asks himself again, wanting to confirm the real reason. Tuka smiles slightly. Haru Tomoki, with a blank expression, mutters to himself that Tuka seems like an acute tsundere and that there must be something hidden behind her brother Haruma's attitude. Tuka then asks why Tomoki's various responses make her feel uncomfortable. Tomoki, in a firm tone, asks Tuka to stop talking because he has realized something. Tuka admits that she is trying to approach Tomoki in a friendly manner, so she can take advantage of his help without making him aware. However, Tomoki is too observant to be fooled. He finds being asked to have this kind of relationship annoying. Tuka adds that she has only been attending this school for 3 days, but 8 people have already confessed their feelings to her. None of them really know her. She wants to stop the attention and use Tomoki as a fake boyfriend so that no other boys approach her. Besides, her brother always says that Tomoki is a good person, so Tuka feels that Tomoki is not a bad choice. Tomoki remains skeptical. He feels that Tuka is still hiding something and suspects that she actually likes Haruma. He thinks Tuka is using him to get her brother's attention. Tuka insists that she has explained all her reasons, and a skeptic Tomoki is willing to help her as a fake boyfriend. If he refuses, she will spread bad rumors about Tomoki, which could force him out of school. Tomoki thinks the threat is stupid. Rumors without evidence will not force him out, so Tuka's threat is not scary. But on the other hand, for the first time someone depends on him, and it makes him happy to be able to help. He agrees to be Tuka's fake boyfriend. Tuka smiles in relief, calling Tomoki silly. Tomoki himself realizes that his decision is stupid, but he has no regrets. Tuka's light laughter eases the tension. She sets a rule that Tomoki has to speak more gently and call her by her first name, not her last name, because after all, fake couple or not, they still look like a couple. Tomoki agrees to the condition. From that day on, they officially become a fake couple. 2 different individuals are now bound by a superficial relationship, yet a warmth begins to grow between them, opening the possibility for change and closeness they have not previously realized. When break time arrives, Haruma runs into Tomoki and invites him to eat together. The hallway bustles with the sounds of laughter and footsteps from other students, but amid the commotion, Tomoki feels his world grow a little quieter as he walks alongside Haruma. In the middle of their light conversation, Tuka approaches them. Haruma stares at her blankly, questioning her intentions, but Tuka does not respond. Instead, she waves at Tomoki and invites him to eat together. Tomoki reminds her that Haruma has already invited him, but Tuka insists that it is impossible for Tomoki to choose Haruma over her boyfriend. Haruma looks surprised, his eyes widening as if to confirm whether Tuka really thinks they are dating. Tuka confirms it with complete confidence, asking Haruma not to get in their way. Tomoki is completely stunned, not expecting Tuka to dare to do something like this in front of so many people. He wonders what people will think, especially Haruma as his older brother. The 3 of them head to the cafeteria, but Tomoki's steps feel heavy even though they are walking together. Tuka mentions Hasaki Natsuna, who might have overheard their earlier conversation. She thinks Hasaki looks creepy, probably because she is worried about their relationship. Haruma calms Tuka down, saying that Hasaki is his childhood friend and should be familiar with Tuka. However, Tuka shakes her head, explaining that even though she knows Hasaki, they haven't spoken since junior high school, so she wonders why Hasaki would be worried. She then smiles to herself at Haruma's surprised expression, which makes her feel satisfied. Tomoki sighs, a little tired because almost everyone is staring at him because of Tuka's actions. Tuka insists that from that day on, Tomoki cannot make plans to eat with anyone else without her permission. They will eat together every day, and Tuka wants to show off their date in front of Haruma. She adds that she is very happy to be herself with Tomoki. Tomoki nods, his face remaining expressionless, but his eyes follow every move of Tuka. Tuka stares at him longer, feeling that Tomoki is hiding something. When she tries to ask, Tomoki turns away and assures her that nothing is wrong. Tomoki then waits patiently in line, gets Tuka's food, and takes in the aroma of the dishes and the bustle of the cafeteria, filled with the sounds of glasses clinking, laughter, and footsteps. Once the food is ready, they look for a comfortable place to sit. Almost every corner of the cafeteria is crowded due to Tuka's popularity, but as soon as people realize Tomoki is near her, the atmosphere instantly changes. The crowd recedes, only a few people remain, and Tomoki's cold gaze makes the cafeteria feel silent. They sit together, enjoying their food while chatting lightly. However, after a while, they feel uncomfortable with the stares of the people around them. Tomoki realizes how conspicuous they are, especially since he is sitting with a popular girl. Tuka responds casually, even joking that Tomoki seems to be falling for her. Tomoki insists that he doesn't know Tuka at all, that there is still a lot to learn. Tuka smiles softly, revealing that she likes the side of Tomoki that judges people by their appearance. Tomoki jokes lightly, taking the compliment as a point of pride. Tuka teases him, saying that Tomoki doesn't need to be embarrassed because it is true that she has managed to make him happy. Tomoki then looks around, noticing that the people around them aren't just confused, but some are staring with envy and even subtle hatred. He chuckles inwardly, realizing that the first-year students are starting to talk about how scary he is. Even so, his face remains expressionless, not smiling at all, as if he is in control of the situation. The bell rings, signaling the end of break time. Tuka asks Tomoki to pick her up so they can go home together. At first, Tomoki refuses, but in the end, he accepts. A small smile appears on Tuka's face, happy because for the first time she is going home with someone other than Ike Haruma. The atmosphere on the way home feels warm, with the afternoon breeze sweeping through their hair and their footsteps in unison as if marking the beginning of something new. Haruma and Hasaki Natsuna stopped Tomoki before the bell rang, asking for a moment to talk. The hallway was somewhat noisy, but there was tension in the air. Haruma looked at Tomoki seriously, wanting to know when his relationship with Tuka had started. Hasaki, with her sharp eyes, thought the relationship had developed too quickly to be taken seriously. Tomoki really didn't know how to answer, and spontaneously admitted that he was dating Tuka because she was cute. Hasaki tapped her forehead, half annoyed and half curious, asking if Tomoki intended to date. Everyone who was cute, convinced that there must be another reason behind his choice. Tomoki questioned why he had to explain his reasons in such detail. Hasaki asserted loudly, her voice echoing firmly in the hallway, that she had known Tuka for a long time and wanted to know if Tomoki could make her happy. Tomoki looked around, seeing the faces that usually stared at him like he was a monster, and said to himself that Tuka was different. Amongst the fearful and suspicious stares, only Tuka looked at him gently, without fear or hatred. Hasaki was still hesitant, but Haruma patted her hand to stop her, signaling her not to be too harsh in her judgment. Suddenly, one of Haruma's student council teammates came over, hurriedly informing them that there was an urgent matter that needed to be dealt with immediately. Haruma immediately walked away, but turned and smiled at Tomoki, saying that Tuka might seem arrogant, but deep down, she was a good girl. He asked Tomoki to take good care of Tuka. Tomoki nodded slowly, his chest feeling a little warm, as if he had truly promised to protect the girl. After school, several girls approached Tuka, asking if her relationship with Tomoki was real. They looked surprised, even scared, because Tomoki usually made people stay away from him. Some of them admitted that they liked Haruma better. Tuka avoided them without responding, her body moving gracefully as if to brush off the disturbance. Coincidentally, Tomoki was following behind, and Tuka immediately excused herself to walk with him. Tomoki asked, a little hesitant, if Tuka really left her friends just to walk with him. Tuka explained, in a calm but firm tone, that they weren't really true friends and didn't care about her. All they thought about was her brother. She turned to Tomoki, asking if he heard everything, including that she was considered creepy. Tomoki nodded, admitting that hearing that constantly hurt his heart, but he kept his expression in check. Tuka looked at him with empathy, then showed gentle anger towards her annoying friends. The mood changed when Tuka asked Tomoki if she was free on Saturday. Her voice was louder than usual, as if she wanted to let everyone around her know that they were going on a date. Several boys who heard her voice looked at her with jealousy and annoyance, realizing that the girl they liked already had a boyfriend. Tomoki looked at their reactions with a blank stare, his chest feeling light because he knew Tuka only wanted the two of them. On the way home, the warm afternoon air and the wind blowing through their hair gave them a different kind of comfort than usual. Their steps were in sync, marking the beginning of something new, a familiarity that was slowly growing in a world that usually made Tomoki feel alienated. Saturday arrives with warm, clear skies, and Tuka waits for Tomoki at their agreed meeting place. The school bustles with the busy footsteps of students and the sound of laughter, yet a tension slowly creeps up as three boys approach her. They try to force her to go with them, making advances that make Tuka feel uncomfortable and anxious. Her body tenses, her hands clench slightly, and she turns to Tomoki, hoping for immediate help. Soon, Tomoki appears in front of Tuka. Without hesitation, he puts his arm around her and insists that Tuka cannot go with them because her boyfriend would get angry. Tomoki's sharp gaze resembles an eagle staring at its prey, freezing the three boys for a moment. Still, they underestimate him, accusing Tomoki of just trying to show off and lacking courage. Tuka clings to Tomoki's shoulders, her body trembling even as he calms her down, assuring her that everything is fine. The tension escalates when one of them tries to punch Tomoki in the face. Tomoki moves with such agility and authority that the hand about to strike instantly falls to the ground. The air seems to stop for a moment, enveloped in Tomoki's aura of strength and calm. He emphasizes that he does not want to hurt anyone, only to stop the chaos. They attack again, yet his agility mesmerizes once more. In an instant, the three men lie on the ground, unable to fight back. Tomoki stares at them sternly, warning them never to bother Tuka again. The three men leave, bowing their heads and promising to behave. Tuka remains frozen, her eyes wide and mouth slightly open. She is stunned, watching Tomoki save her with extraordinary agility and courage. A deep sense of admiration rises in her heart. It is not just Tomoki's intimidating appearance, but his bravery and powerful aura. Tomoki apologizes for possibly scaring her, yet Tuka smiles, already accustomed to it and completely unbothered. Slowly, a slight warmth spreads across Tomoki's face as a small smile appears, the first after holding back emotions for so long. Tuka feels strange seeing him thank her, as she should be the one grateful for his protection and concern. Now, in her eyes, Tomoki seems more impressive and charming. Tomoki smiles, wondering how he is better. Tuka looks at him gently, thinking of his thuggish side that intervenes in others' affairs, but recalling how he lost patience and acted decisively earlier. He seems like a dangerous, yet astonishing figure. Tomoki chuckles lightly, asking what could be better than that. Tuka only smiles, realizing how long they have delayed their first date. They walk together down the school hallway, now starting to empty, with only their footsteps and the gentle evening breeze accompanying them. Tuka feels comfortable and safe by Tomoki's side, admiring his toughness and reliability. His aura, frightening to others, becomes her protection, and in her heart, that admiration slowly grows into complete trust. With synchronized steps, they move forward, marking the beginning of something new and warm in a world that usually feels harsh and intimidating to Tomoki. Yuji and Tuka go to the cinema. Yuji asks which movie she wants to watch, and Tuka notices that many films are showing that day. She assumes Yuji plans to see a romantic movie with her, thinking it would be too typical and dull for a date. However, to her surprise, Yuji chooses an action film instead. Tuka suspects that Yuji has already seen it and wonders why he thinks she would like it. He explains that the word torture suits her personality. Though she disagrees, the movie poster catches her attention, and she decides to watch it. Inside the theater, they realize they are the only two people there. As the movie plays, Tuka's expressions shift from joy to sadness, confusion, and amusement. Yuji quietly watches every reaction and finds it fascinating. When she feels excited, Tuka lightly tugs at Yuji's sleeve. After the movie ends, they stop by a restaurant. Tuka thinks the film is excellent and believes it was the right choice not to watch a romance. Yuji agrees, clearly noticing how much she enjoyed it. Tuka then asks if Yuji spent the whole time watching her instead of the movie because he likes her. Yuji wonders if that is true, and Tuka smiles, telling him he can look at her anytime, but he should control himself inside a theater. Yuji admits that she looked too cute while focusing on the screen, making it impossible not to look. Tuka blushes and stares in surprise, prompting Yuji to ask what is wrong. She feels that Yuji has been flirting with her seriously all day, and it makes her uneasy, as if he truly has feelings for her. Suddenly, Yuji says he wants to end the date and go home, leaving Tuka shocked and asking why. He replies that he feels too embarrassed to continue, though Tuka believes he is lying because it is obvious. They fall silent for a moment before Tuka lets out a small laugh. Yuji asks her to stop teasing him and wonders if they should continue the date. Tuka says she wants him to stay with her, and Yuji agrees. They head to a game center together. At the arcade, Tuka feels that no one could possibly beat Yuji at any of the games. Yuji does not understand what she means, so Tuka explains that he must come here often. She challenges him to compete, and Yuji accepts. Tuka declares that she will now show her true ability and tells him not to cry after losing to her many times. They play several games, including racing, fighting, and air hockey, but Tuka loses every round. Frustrated, she asks to take a break. She complains that Yuji should be the one slamming the game table in anger, throwing an ashtray at someone's face, and shouting in frustration. Yuji is confused and asks what kind of person she thinks he is, and why an ashtray. Tuka explains that men usually let their girlfriends win, and asks if picking on the weak feels good to him. Yuji admits that it does, but then adds that it is his first time visiting an arcade with someone, and he genuinely enjoys it. Hearing this, Tuka says she can't call him cruel anymore. She calls him stupid instead, decides to stop playing, and takes him to a photo booth. Yuji asks if she is sure about going there with just the two of them. Tuka tells him that he can show the photos to others or stick them on his phone case. They start setting up the booth. Tuka invites Yuji to make silly poses like most couples do, but adds one rule: he cannot touch her during the photos. Yuji says he has no idea how to do any of it and leaves everything to her. Tuka tells him not to be so stiff. They take several photos together. After finishing, they edit the pictures, with Yuji letting Tuka handle the editing. When the photos are printed, Tuka asks for his phone, sticks one of the photos on the back of his phone case, and tells him not to remove it. After the date ends, Tuka returns home and lies down on her bed. She thinks Yuji is strange. Despite how much happened that day, they went to the game center, watched a movie, shared their thoughts about it, and even got involved with some street thugs. Tuka's face turns red when she recalls it all. She calls Yuji an idiot in her thoughts, believing he looks scary, almost like a delinquent. She remembers the moment they were surrounded by those thugs. Even though she acted calm, she had been terrified inside. Yuji came to help her, and there was something about him that truly was frightening, making some of the rumors about him seem partly true. Yet Tuka senses another side of him, someone who genuinely cares about others, though in a strange way. She finds that oddly endearing. Tuka assumes Yuji is used to fighting and that something must have happened to him in the past. She believes her brother would probably avoid the topic if she ever asked about it. Tuka realizes she cannot fully understand Yuji in just a week. There are still parts of him she has yet to know. She also has sides of herself that she never wants others to see. The more she thinks about Yuji, the more time she spends lost in thought about him. Still, she denies being in love with him, convincing herself that she only expects something from him. To her, someone like Yuji would understand her feelings, or at least something close to that. Tuka has always been compared to her older brother, Haruma. No matter how hard she tries, she can never surpass him in anything, always seen merely as like Haruma's little sister. Perhaps Yuji will see her for who she truly is. She quietly wishes for that. When she looks at their photo booth pictures, she notices how intimidating Yuji appears. She lies back down again and tells herself that everything she's thinking is just her imagination. Tuka believes it's impossible for Yuji to see her differently. He will likely treat her the same way others do, never noticing how she truly feels and easily overlooking her. She assumes Yuji only wants to date her because she's Haruma's sister. Suddenly, her phone lights up with a message from Yuji. He says he's almost home and thanks her for today, saying it was really fun for him. Reading that, Tuka feels that Yuji keeps giving her hope. She predicts that what will come next is disappointment. To her, that's the only possible outcome of a relationship she started just to irritate her brother. Even so, she makes a small promise to herself. The next time they go to the game center, she won't stop until she can beat Yuji. Deep down, she realizes she's already looking forward to their next date, and she enjoys the connection she now shares with him. During class, Yuji invites Haruma to hang out later that afternoon, since he has been spending most of his time with Tuka lately. Suddenly, Tuka appears and grabs Yuji's arm, saying that she and Yuji are having lunch together today. Haruma thinks that's a good idea because he wants to talk to both of them, so he decides to join. Unexpectedly, Hasaki arrives, and Haruma invites her along as well. Tuka wonders why Hasaki is joining them and can't understand the reason. Hasaki says she wants to make sure Tuka and Yuji's relationship is safe. Tuka replies that her relationship with Yuji is none of Hasaki's business. Hasaki argues that it is her business because she worries about both of them. Tuka insists that Hasaki has no reason to worry about Yuji and points out that it has been a long time since they last talked like this. Hasaki answers that she always pays attention to Tuka, but Tuka feels that simply paying attention isn't enough if Hasaki doesn't even talk to her. Feeling cornered, Hasaki turns to Haruma for help. Haruma explains that Hasaki has been busy joining tournaments and hasn't spoken with Tuka because Tuka always avoids her. Tuka denies it and says she doesn't remember ever avoiding Hasaki, accusing her of being overconfident. She tells Hasaki not to talk to her at school anymore. Yuji is taken aback, knowing that Tuka's plan to date him came from her tsundere attitude, and he feels she's being too blunt. He asks if she doesn't think she's overdoing it. Tuka tells Yuji not to interfere in their sibling matters, but Yuji finds it hard not to worry. Then Hasaki suddenly asks if Yuji is really dating Tuka. Yuji nervously says yes. Hasaki responds that they don't look like a couple at all. Tuka thinks Hasaki must be blind and says that she and Yuji are the dumbest couple in the world. Trying to make sense of it, Hasaki challenges them to prove it by kissing right now, saying it shouldn't be a problem for them. Tuka demands to know why Hasaki would even suggest that. Hasaki explains that since they call themselves the dumbest couple, there's no reason not to try. Tuka asks if Hasaki is serious about making them do it right there at school. Hasaki says she is, and that they should show their seriousness. Haruma tries to calm her down, but Hasaki tells him not to interfere. Yuji apologizes, saying he can't kiss Tuka. He thinks it's impossible to kiss his junior, who isn't even his real girlfriend, in public. Hasaki reminds him that he just said he was dating her. Yuji insists that he wouldn't be dating Tuka if he wasn't serious about her. Both Hasaki and Tuka are shocked. Yuji continues, explaining that they truly are dating. They've held hands before, but they've never kissed because he wants to respect her. Hasaki falls silent while Tuka's face turns red. Tuka asks if Yuji isn't embarrassed after saying something like that. Yuji then realizes what he's just said, hides his face, and admits it's embarrassing. Tuka laughs and calls him stupid, saying there's no need to be that serious. Yuji tells her to stop laughing. Haruma then brings up another topic, saying he wants to discuss something with Yuji since the student orientation is coming up and he needs Yuji's help. Tuka finds it ridiculous, while Yuji agrees to help Haruma without hesitation. Tuka questions whether Yuji accepts things too easily and reminds him that they're supposed to spend time together after school as a couple. Yuji apologizes and says he has to change his plans, but can't refuse if Haruma needs him. Frustrated, Tuka walks away, saying he can do whatever he wants. Moments later, she comes back and says that it sounds troublesome, but she'll help Haruma and Yuji too. Both Haruma and Yuji are surprised. Haruma tells her he didn't ask her to help, but Tuka asks if he isn't happy about it. Haruma replies that he is, and Tuka explains she's only doing it because otherwise she wouldn't be able to be with Yuji. Yuji says he's surprised that she agreed to join. Tuka asks why, teasing that he should be happy to spend time with someone as cute as her, then asks if he's not glad they're helping together. Yuji notices that her eyes don't look happy at all, which makes him feel down. He tells her that, as her boyfriend, he's truly happy to be with her. Haruma also thanks Tuka for helping. Tuka clarifies that she's not doing it because Haruma is her brother and tells him not to misunderstand, but she'll still do her best to help. Finally, she turns to Yuji and tells him to do his best too, and Yuji assures her to leave everything to him. They later head to the student council room, where Haruma introduces Yuji to Tanaka and Suzuki. Both Tanaka and Suzuki greet Yuji politely and ask for his cooperation, and Yuji responds the same way. He then notices both of them smiling at him, which feels slightly strange. Haruma explains that he needs to step out to help teacher Makiri in the staff room, but before leaving, Yuji stops him and asks why everyone seems a little unusual. Haruma admits that he already told Tanaka and Suzuki everything about Yuji. Tanaka says he knows that Yuji often helps out around the school, so there's no reason for them to be scared of him or anything like that. Suzuki adds that it took her a bit of time to get used to Yuji's face and apologizes if she still looks startled when she sees him. Haruma reassures Yuji that all the student council members are his friends, which surprises Yuji. Tanaka then begins explaining Yuji's assigned task, but before he can continue, Tuka suddenly walks in. She looks surprised to see Yuji talking so naturally with others besides her and Haruma. She immediately questions who Tanaka and Suzuki are and what they have done to Yuji. Realizing her tone, Tuka apologizes, saying that no one in this school actually has a scary face. Tanaka recognizes her as Haruma's sister, happy to meet her, and introduces himself. He mentions that he has heard about Tuka's top score on the entrance exam, something expected from Haruma's younger sister. Suzuki also expresses relief that Tuka will be helping out, then introduces herself as well. Tuka smiles and says she's glad to meet both of them. Yuji asks what exactly they need help with. Tanaka explains that he has a simple task for Yuji and Tuka. They need to go to the printing room, make copies of the practice test sheets, and organize them by subject. Tuka thinks the job sounds too easy. Suzuki clarifies that while it may sound simple, around 200 students will attend the event, and the papers cover 5 subjects from the past 3 years, so it will take much longer than Tuka expects. Tuka confidently says that everything will be fine because she's lucky to have Yuji with her. Yuji can already tell she plans to dump most of the work on him. In the printing room, they spend time copying and sorting the sheets. Tuka wonders when they will ever finish because the work feels torturous. Yuji jokes that the torture will probably continue tomorrow. Tuka complains about how dull the task is and questions why they have to waste their youth like this. She's surprised that Yuji still works diligently, thinking he must be a genuinely good person. Yuji says he doesn't want to hear that from her and apologizes. Tuka doesn't understand why he's apologizing, saying her brother should be the one saying sorry for giving them such a boring job. Yuji explains that the student council must be overloaded with work, and what they're doing only lightens that burden a little. Tuka decides to get a drink from the vending machine and asks if Yuji wants something, offering to buy one for him. Yuji asks if she's really going to get it herself. Tuka says she wants to buy black coffee and asks if he minds her getting one for him too. Yuji says he doesn't. Tuka then points at him playfully with a smile, saying that he amuses her. Yuji tells her to stop making that expression. Tuka laughs and tells him not to slack off while she's gone. After she leaves, Yuji continues working, wondering when the task will finally end because it feels endless. Suddenly, teacher Makiri arrives and asks how things are going. She says she heard that Tuka was also here, but only sees Yuji. Yuji explains that Tuka went to buy drinks. Makiri says her timing is unfortunate because she wanted to come earlier. She tells Yuji she brought something for both of them and insists that when Tuka returns, they must finish the ice cream she brought. Yuji agrees and thanks her. Makiri asks if the work is difficult. Yuji replies that it's more mentally exhausting than physically tiring. Makiri thanks Yuji and Tuka for helping the student council so much. Yuji says he didn't have anything else to do anyway. Makiri then changes the subject and asks how his relationship with Tuka is going. Before Yuji can answer, she directly asks if they're dating. Yuji quickly says they're not, but just then, Tuka returns and declares that they are. Noticing the conflicting answers, she turns to Yuji and asks what he's talking about, saying that they're the best couple in the world. Yuji reassures her not to worry, explaining that Makiri once helped him when he was in trouble and that she judges people by character, not appearance, making her someone trustworthy. Makiri asks what he means by saying they aren't dating, since Tuka seems like someone who would easily attract attention. Yuji explains that many boys keep bothering Tuka, telling her how obsessed they are with her, so they pretend to be dating to keep them away. Makiri is surprised but accepts the explanation, deciding not to pry further. Tuka asks if Makiri really believes that and doesn't think it's just a made-up excuse. Makiri answers that she has known Yuji since he entered the school, and that he's an honest student who never lies to hurt anyone. Tuka asks Makiri to keep this a secret, and Makiri agrees. She appreciates both of their efforts and doesn't want their hard work to go to waste. She concludes the matter by warning Tuka to be careful from now on and not draw too much attention. Tuka curtly says she understands. Yuji thanks Makiri again, but she says there's no need since she hasn't done anything deserving of thanks. She also notes that she hasn't seen Yuji talk to anyone this much before, which she finds a good change. She tells Yuji she believes his story completely and assures him that more people will start noticing his efforts over time. Yuji says things at school have been going smoothly lately, which makes Makiri happy. He adds that besides Haruma and Tuka, he now also talks to Tanaka and Suzuki and feels grateful for that. When Tuka returns, she asks why Makiri is still there. Makiri explains that she came to give them a small treat as thanks for their help. Tuka says Makiri doesn't need to thank them, but notices the ice cream and calls her generous. Makiri insists she's not. She then leaves to check on the student council's progress. After she leaves, Tuka sees chocolate chips and ice cream on the table and asks Yuji if she can have some. He says she can. Tuka then teasingly offers Yuji a spoonful of ice cream, telling him to beg for it in a playful, childish way before taking a bite herself. Just then, a male student walks in and asks what Tuka is doing there. The student's name is Kai, and he says he came because he needed to ask Tuka something. When Kai sees Yuji sitting there, he freezes in shock. During the break, Kai suddenly shows up and asks what Yuji is doing there. Yuji remains silent, unsure how to respond, while Tuka reminds Kai that he must have come for a reason and asks what he wants. Kai explains that he is there to ask about his class's attendance book for the lesson. He mentions that the class representative said it would be fine, which makes Tuka relieved at first. But her tone quickly turns sharp as she accuses Kai of being lazy since his class and hers were supposed to handle the record last. She tells him that he is far too idle for someone who's supposed to be a vice representative. Kai apologizes, promising that he will try to do better next time. After that, Kai becomes curious and asks what Tuka is doing there. Tuka explains that her brother, Haruma, asked her to help with the student council's work because the council is short on members to prepare for the upcoming event. Kai is surprised to hear that Tuka is involved in student council tasks. Tuka does not understand why that surprises him. Kai begins to suspect that Yuji is the one who made Tuka help with all of this. Tuka clarifies that it's nothing serious. She only has to print and organize a few materials, and Yuji is simply assisting her. Kai then asks if Tuka is sure she's really okay. Tuka looks confused, asking what exactly Kai means by that. Kai explains that he thinks she should already know about something that happened earlier, a violent incident that people have been whispering about. Before he can finish, Tuka cuts him off coldly, saying she has no interest in that kind of gossip. She insists that she and Yuji still have work to do and excuses herself, leaving with Yuji before Kai can say anything else. As soon as they are out of sight, Tuka mutters that Kai is incredibly annoying. Yuji, however, says that Kai seems like a good kid who has a lot of courage. Tuka is puzzled that Yuji would think that way and calls it strange that he didn't deny Kai's assumptions more directly. Yuji then thanks Tuka because she unexpectedly lied to save them from that awkward situation. Tuka brushes it off, saying there's no need to thank her since she only wanted to get away from Kai as fast as possible. Yuji understands, though her face starts turning slightly red afterward. Yuji assumes that Kai must be Tuka's classmate and asks who he actually is. Tuka, misinterpreting Yuji's tone, thinks Yuji might try to pick a fight or intimidate Kai. Yuji, confused, asks what kind of person she thinks he is, which makes Tuka laugh it off and say she's only joking. Tuka then explains that Kai Reka is the vice representative of her class, a well-liked student who treats everyone kindly. There are even rumors that 3 girls have already confessed to him, and his entrance exam score is among the highest in the entire grade. She describes him as a remarkable person. Yuji admits that Kai might be popular, but he knows someone who's 10 times more famous. Tuka immediately tells him to stop making teasing comments and jokes that he probably can't help himself because she's just too cute. She continues, saying that Kai has already become a core player on the school's soccer team despite being a first-year student. To her, he's quite impressive, almost like Haruma's first-year version. But after thinking a bit, she jokingly calls him a discount version of her brother. Yuji laughs and says he doesn't really understand why Kai was glaring at him earlier, suspecting that the boy might dislike him. Then he starts wondering aloud if Kai might actually like Tuka and is jealous of him. Tuka, half proud and half playful, admits that it's possible since she is, after all, adorable. She apologizes mockingly to Yuji for making people jealous because of her popularity. Yuji, slightly exasperated, asks what kind of apology that is. Tuka argues that Yuji must always be worried about others chasing after her. Yuji admits he is worried, but more about what those people might try to do to him rather than to her. Tuka did not expect such an honest answer, and his straightforwardness makes her a little irritated. Yuji then asks if Tuka would rather have him act jealous whenever someone else tries to approach her. Tuka confidently says yes. She wants him to be possessive and to show a scary face whenever someone tries to flirt with her. But even then, she believes Yuji will be fine because nobody at school would dare to stand up to him. Yuji agrees with that statement. Afterward, they return to the student council room, where Haruma thanks both of them for their help and asks Yuji to come again tomorrow. Yuji agrees without hesitation. Later that day, Yuji suddenly receives a message from Tuka, asking him to meet her on the rooftop. When he arrives, he finds Kai already there, looking furious. Kai demands that Tuka stop spending time with Yuji and insists that he should be the one to protect her. Both Tuka and Yuji are left completely bewildered by his outburst. Kai demands that Tuka stop getting close to Yuji. Tuka, taken aback, looks confused and asks what he is even talking about. Then Kai suddenly realizes that Yuji has arrived and is standing right behind them. Without hesitation, Tuka turns to Yuji and complains that Kai has been talking behind his back, constantly warning her to stay away from him and spreading nonsense about Yuji being dangerous. She adds that it's honestly the most pathetic and miserable way to confess one's feelings, and it makes Kai look pitiful. Kai quickly denies it, insisting that he is only worried about Tuka. But Tuka refuses to accept that excuse, saying there is absolutely nothing to be worried about. To make her point clear, she grabs Yuji's arm and pulls it close, smiling proudly as she tells Kai that she and Yuji are very close. Seeing this, Kai clenches his fists in frustration and anger. He blurts out that Tuka has no idea how terrifying Yuji truly is. Tuka challenges him, saying he is just pretending to know everything. She dares him to say everything he knows about Yuji. Kai explains that during the previous summer, he saw Yuji beating up several people on the street. The sight was so frightening that Kai still cannot understand why Yuji hasn't been expelled from school. He warns Tuka that she should break up with Yuji as soon as possible or she will regret it later. Tuka, unimpressed, says that's all he knows, just a single incident from last summer. She argues that if Yuji really was involved, it must have been because he got caught up trying to protect someone, since she knows he's not that kind of violent person. She reminds Kai that all of his opinions are based solely on what he saw. He never even asked Yuji why the fight happened. Instead, he simply assumed that Yuji is a bad guy and that she is some helpless girl in need of saving. Then, with sharp irritation, Tuka questions why Kai never told Yuji directly to stay away from her. To her, it's obvious that Kai only pretends to care about her, when in truth, the only person he really cares about is himself. She tells him flat out that he's too self-absorbed to realize it, and she's glad to be the one to say it out loud. Kai is narcissistic. When Kai tries to defend himself, Tuka cuts him off immediately, telling him to shut his mouth. She warns him never to insult her boyfriend again. Yuji watches all of this in silence, completely stunned by Tuka's fierce outburst. He finally steps forward and gently asks her to stop. Tuka turns to him, surprised, and asks if he isn't angry after hearing everything Kai said. Yuji calmly replies that Tuka has already gotten angry enough for both of them. Without saying another word, Tuka grabs Yuji's hand and tells him they should leave. Yuji agrees, and the two of them start walking away. But Kai calls out, asking them to wait. He says he finally understands now that Tuka only said all of those harsh words to keep Yuji from getting mad. Kai insists that he's the one who got hurt by it, but he appreciates Tuka's effort. He declares that her words won't be in vain and announces that he will step back for now. Still, he vows that he will save Tuka someday, asking her to wait just a little longer. Before they leave, he tells them to meet him again tomorrow at the same place and time, and warns Yuji not to run away. As they walk away, Tuka mutters under her breath that Kai is incredibly irritating. She wonders what's wrong with him to make him so impossible to deal with. Yuji then thanks her sincerely for getting angry on his behalf. Tuka gives him an annoyed glance and asks if he really thinks she did all of that just to protect him. She quickly adds that she isn't trying to say everything was for herself either. It's just that the whole situation with Kai made her furious. She admits that she's angry at herself now because everything she said earlier was just an act, and she's still frustrated about it even after leaving. Tuka has always felt invisible behind her brother's shadow. No matter how much she tries to stand out, people only ever see her as like Haruma's little sister. When classmates invite her to hang out, it's never because of her, it's always because they hope Haruma might come too. Even when she smiles politely and declines, the whispers sting. Deep down, she longs to be seen as her own person, not just an extension of her brother's name. To change that, Tuka throws herself into everything, sports, studies, anything her brother excels at. She works tirelessly, staying up late just to prove she's more than Haruma's sister. When exam results come back, she finally takes first place. But instead of pride, she feels hollow when her teacher says, "Good job. Just like your brother." The praise burns like irony. She's won, yet somehow she's still losing, to the same shadow she's been chasing all along. Her bitterness only deepens when she sees how fondly Haruma talks about his best friend, Tomoki. It irritates her that her brother can smile so easily while she keeps struggling to be noticed. Out of spite, she gets close to Tomoki, hoping to make things difficult for Haruma, but things don't go as planned. No matter what she does, Tomoki remains kind, steady, and frustratingly genuine. When she accuses him of pitying her, he meets her anger with quiet honesty, saying he's not trying to console her, he's simply acknowledging her efforts, the strength no one else sees. Tomoki tells her softly, "You're amazing, Tuka. You've worked so hard to be yourself." His words disarm her, sinking past her defenses. For the first time, someone isn't comparing her to Haruma, he's seeing her. When he offers to help her chase her own goals, promising to support her not as Haruma's sister, but as Tuka herself, she doesn't know how to respond. The warmth in his voice feels unfamiliar, almost too much to bear, and something fragile stirs in her chest. Overwhelmed, Tuka blurts, "I'm going home," and storms off, her cheeks flushed. Tomoki tries to follow, but she snaps, "Don't talk to me," her voice shaking between irritation and embarrassment. He falls silent, walking a few steps behind as she heads down the quiet hall. Neither speaks, but the air between them hums with something unspoken, an awkward, tender closeness that feels almost like the start of something real. The new school term starts with Haruma, the friendly student council president, welcoming new students and leading preparations for the welcome party. Tomoki arrives late but helps quietly, impressing everyone with his calm efficiency. The student council seniors drop by, praising how smoothly things are going, while Ike and Asakura joke around. Afterward, Ike admits he used to think Tomoki was a delinquent because of his intimidating face, but realizes he was wrong. They laugh it off, and Ike calls Tomoki a good guy before teasing him about dating his sister, Tuka. Tuka then appears, cheerfully inviting Tomoki to lunch. Ike complains in mock jealousy, while Tomoki teases him for not having a girlfriend. Their playful exchange turns lighthearted, and for once, the three of them share a comfortable, easy moment. During lunch, Tuka proudly presents a homemade bento, apologizing for troubling Tomoki lately. He accepts it with a shy smile, saying it tastes great, while she thanks him for always being patient with her. Later, Tuka admits she's found something she wants to beat her brother at and asks for Tomoki's support. When he offers to help, she refuses, saying it's something she must accomplish on her own. Her confidence makes Tomoki smile as he wishes her luck. Before leaving, Tuka adds one more request, asking him to keep being her fake boyfriend until he gets tired of it. Tomoki laughs and tells her not to worry, saying he can keep pretending forever if she wants. Tuka smirks at his confidence, turning away with a small, knowing smile. Before walking off, she says softly that she won't let things stay like this forever. Her words linger in Tomoki's mind, leaving him uncertain whether she meant it as a joke or something much more sincere. The welcome party bursts to life with upbeat music from the seniors' band, filling the gym with laughter and energy. Tomoki, who had helped with the preparations, stands quietly at the entrance, watching the lively scene unfold. A senior notices him and offers a kind word of praise, and for the first time in a while, Tomoki feels a quiet sense of belonging amid the noise and joy around him. After the event, Tomoki meets Mikiri-sensei, who greets him warmly and thanks him for his effort. She offers him a can of coffee, knowing it's his favorite, and tells him he deserves a break. Her simple kindness leaves a deep impression on him, and as Tomoki takes the drink with a grateful smile, he feels seen and appreciated in a way words can't quite express. They talk briefly about how everything went, and Mikiri mentions that Tuka nearly lost her patience earlier. Tomoki laughs softly, admitting she's right, and realizes how many people genuinely care about him, something he hadn't noticed before. When he tries to thank Mikiri again, she gently stops him, saying it's not her he should thank, but himself. Her quiet confidence in him brings a rare smile to his face. Before leaving, Mikiri tells him to come to her again if he ever needs advice. Tomoki watches her go before turning down the hallway, only to run into Ike, who greets him with his usual bright energy. Ike thanks him for helping the student council, teasingly suggesting a reward. After some banter, Ike proposes they all go out for grilled meat, with Tuka included, and Tomoki agrees, laughing as he warns Ike not to expect too much. Later, as he walks away, Tomoki reflects on how much things have changed. He's no longer isolated or misunderstood. He has people who see him for who he truly is. Thinking of Tuka and the challenges ahead, he steels himself to face Kai and earn his trust. When Kai finally appears, his expression tense and confrontational, Tomoki meets his glare calmly, ready to try, even if understanding doesn't come easily. On the rooftop, Kai confronts Tomoki with a cold, determined glare, demanding they keep the talk short. Without hesitation, he tells Tomoki to break up with Tuka, his voice edged with anger and frustration. Tomoki, calm but wary, asks if Kai's outburst stems from jealousy, if he has feelings for her himself. Kai doesn't answer directly, only saying he's seen what Tomoki did last year, his tone sharp with accusation. The air between them grows heavy, not just with rivalry but with years of guilt and unspoken resentment. Kai's voice cracks as he confesses that fear once kept him from acting, that he stood by and did nothing, and it's haunted him ever since. This time, he says, he won't ignore Tuka's situation or live in regret. Tomoki acknowledges Kai's resolve with quiet understanding, but when Kai demands that he leave Tuka alone, Tomoki meets his gaze and refuses. "No can do," he says firmly. "I'm Tuka's boyfriend, after all." The words strike deep, solidifying the rift between them. As their emotions boil over, Tuka suddenly bursts onto the rooftop, calling out to Tomoki in panic. Her presence momentarily breaks the tension, but Kai, overwhelmed by anger and confusion, lashes out again. He accuses Tomoki of manipulating her and declares he'll save her no matter what. When Tomoki calmly states that, even if their relationship is fake, it's something he truly values, both Tuka and Kai are stunned. Calling Tomoki scum, Kai draws a knife, his desperation overtaking reason, while Tuka cries out in shock. Kai lunges forward, shouting, but Tomoki moves swiftly, protecting Tuka and disarming him with a single, clean counterattack. The knife clatters away as Kai collapses, bruised and defeated. Yet instead of scolding him, Tomoki offers respect, telling Kai he admires his courage for confronting him head-on. Then, looking him straight in the eye, he says, "That's what you should have done from the start. Use your own fists." Kai, trembling and exhausted, lands one last punch, and Tomoki smiles faintly in approval. "Not bad," he says softly, his words carrying the weight of understanding and forgiveness. After Kai collapses on the rooftop, Tuka rushes to Tomoki's side, panicking at the sight of blood on his lip. "Senpai, are you okay?" she cries, pressing tissues to his cut, but he brushes it off with a calm smile. When she blames herself for everything, Tomoki gently disagrees, saying Kai acted because he saw him as a threat, not because of her. When she asks if he was scared, he admits softly, "Yeah, I was very scared," his honesty quieting her guilt for a moment. Unable to hold it in, Tuka bursts out in frustration, demanding to know why Tomoki let himself get hit and why he keeps taking the blame. He explains he was afraid things might go too far and didn't want her getting hurt. Her voice trembles as she admits how terrified she was at the thought of losing him, finally shouting through tears, "I don't want you to keep suffering for others anymore." The rooftop falls silent, heavy with her emotion. Tomoki gently places a hand on her head, telling her that's enough. His voice is calm, assuring her she's too kind to be at fault, and he thanks her with a faint smile. Tuka blushes, realizing how deeply she cares for him. Turning toward the fallen Kai, she scolds him for acting without thinking and ends with a fiery warning. "Don't ever lay your filthy hands on my boyfriend again." Her words surprise even her, leaving both her and Tomoki momentarily speechless. The next day, peace doesn't last long. Kai, now shaved-headed, kneels before Tomoki in the hallway, apologizing dramatically for everything. Tuka gawks, calling him a monk, while Tomoki squints before realizing it's really Kai. Laughing, he forgives him, calling them even, though Tuka protests in disbelief. Then, to everyone's shock, Kai declares he's been moved by Tomoki's strength and begs to follow him like a devoted underling. Tomoki freezes, flustered, as Tuka sighs in disbelief, realizing her peaceful days with him are definitely over. As they walk home, Tuka huffs that she only started dating Tomoki to get back at her brother, but now she's sure Kai's after her boyfriend. Tomoki laughs, teasing her for being paranoid and reminding her about the upcoming exams. Unbothered, Tuka boasts she'll take first place since she's studied hard, even turning it into a bet. Amused, Tomoki offers to treat her to her favorite food if she wins, and she accepts with a confident grin, her determination lighting up her face. When Tuka shyly adds she'll have him make lunch for her again, Tomoki teases that she must want miso soup every morning, making her blush furiously. Flustered, she insists she was joking, but he only smiles and says he'd make her lunch anytime, bet or no bet. Trying to hide her embarrassment, she mutters that she wasn't lying when she offered before, her voice soft but sincere. The warmth between them lingers, comfortable, teasing, and quietly tender. As they keep walking, Tomoki promises to treat her once exams are over, and Tuka beams, saying she'll go all out for her next lunch. Without thinking, she blurts, "Because the boyfriend I love so much is asking for it," then panics and corrects herself. "I mean fake boyfriend." He laughs, flustered himself, while she hits his arm in mock anger. Beneath her pout, though, Her heart races. She knows now that her feelings are real. At the train crossing, Tuka looks back and smiles softly at him. Our relationship might be fake, she thinks, but my feelings have always been genuine. When Tomoki calls out, asking what she said, she only grins and replies, "No can do. That's a secret." Inside, she makes a quiet promise to one day tell him the truth. But for now, she'll keep it close to her heart, treasuring this fragile, beautiful feeling just a little longer.